Hello everyone, this is the Effort Adventure with another episode of albums I got recently where I show some pickups that I've gotten within the past few weeks, the past month or two. So anyways, we're going to jump in with our first album, which is actually a gospel album. It is inspirational gospel legends Reverend James Cleveland. Any of you who don't know who that is, Reverend James Cleveland is often regarded as the father of modern gospel. This is not really modern, this is more like 60s, 70s, I believe, but you know, the style that gospel is in these days was highly influenced by Reverend James Cleveland and a whole bunch of other artists. But this is a good collection of some songs, really old, really raw gospel music, and you know, great collection to have. So if you're into gospel music and you want some of that classic, raw, emotional gospel music, this is definitely something you want to pick up. Now we're going to start with the hip-hop stuff. The first album I have is The Score by the Fugees, which is actually their second and last album, next to Blunted on Reality. This is the group that is composed of Wyclef Jean, Lauryn Hill, and Praz. This album also has one of their biggest hits, Fuji La. It is a great mixture of, if you're into Eastern hip-hop or jazz rap, they kind of fuse that into this album. So if you like that kind of stuff, this is definitely the album for you. Often considered the Fugees are considered one of the best hip-hop groups of all time, so, you know, and this is also where Lauryn Hill first started in this group, and she eventually became, you know, super important to hip-hop with their release of The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill, so definitely check out this album, The Score by the Fugees. The next album, this is one of the ones that I said I'd be looking to get in my last albums I got recently video, and that is My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy by Kanye West. This is often regarded as one of the best hip-hop albums of the past decade. That is very arguable though. But this actually isn't even my favorite Kanye West album, but it's definitely an album that I would recommend getting. They often say that this album's production is like amazing, which is typical for Kanye West. If you open this up, you can see it has a gatefold kind of thing. It has three sections. You have the disc in this section, and it spells Kanye West like that. So, yeah, I close this right. But anyways, yeah, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy by Kanye West. The next album I have here is Enter the Wu-Tang 36 Chambers by the Wu-Tang Clan. I got this album just a few days ago. This is often considered one of the greatest hip-hop albums ever made by one of the greatest hip-hop groups ever made, or ever formed, rather. It is one of the forerunners in East Coast hip-hop next to Jay-Z's Reasonable Doubt, Notorious B.I.G.'s Ready to Die, Nas's Illmatic, and so on. And it would be the launching pad for a lot of rappers. One in particular is the GZA, who would bring to us Liquid Swords, which next to Raekwon's Only Built for Cuban Links is regarded as the best solo effort from the Wu-Tang Clan. Really great album, really great East Coast hip-hop album, and both of these are really great. If you're into East Coast hip-hop, I would definitely recommend both of these. Can't recommend them enough. The last hip-hop album I have here is Straight Outta Compton by NWA. With the advent of the movie being released, my local FYE has decided to put all the NWA albums and all the solo efforts by members of the NWA on a separate shelf. And I saw this and I decided to pick it up. It's a I've listened to this already a few times. It is a really great album. My favorite song is probably Quiet on the Set, as well as Straight Outta Compton, the title track. But you know, this is also one of the forerunners of West Coast hip hop, along with like Snoop Dogg's Doggy Style, Eazy-E's Straight Off the Streets of Compton, and Dr. Dre's The Chronic. So I definitely recommend those albums as well as this one, Straight Outta Compton by NWA. Now we're going to move on to pop, and I only have two, and they're both by the same person, and that is Beyonce. This is Beyonce's first solo album, Dangerously in Love, which really, you know, jump-started her career as a solo artist. Now one of the greatest female pop singers of all time, and this kind of, you know, started the whole thing between her and Jay-Z. You have, of course, Crazy in Love, which is a great song, and one of the first, I think, features with her, having Jay-Z on a track. So, yeah, this is Beyonce's first album, Dangerously in Love, and I also have her fourth studio album, Beyonce 4. I guess it would be called, or just 4. This has Love on Top, which is probably my favorite Beyonce song of all time, and it has a whole bunch of other great songs. And after I think I think all I need are B-Day and I Am Sasha Fierce, and then I have her entire solo discography. So yeah, Dangerously in Love and 4 by Beyonce. So now we're going to move on to the rock part, and the first one I have is Rock and Roll Hall of Fame Original Artists. This is just a compilation album of a bunch of different rock artists that are in the Hall of Fame. Sorry, there is no Elvis Presley, but there is Marvin Gaye, James Brown, Ray Charles, B.B. King, Chuck Berry, Big Bopper, Frankie Lemon, and the Teenagers, Percy Sledge, so on and so forth. So a lot of great, a lot of great artists, a lot of great classic rock songs. So yeah, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame Original Artists. This is also a 2-disc album, so yeah, plenty to be heard. Next, I have Brian Wilson's first solo album, Brian Wilson. So it's self-titled, of course. It was kind of weird for me listening to this because, I'm such a huge fan of the Beach Boys and Brian Wilson's work, and hearing his first solo album was kind of disappointing. It's a bit of a disappointing album because there wasn't much that really interested me or really got me into this album, and it really pales in comparison to his brother Dennis's first solo album, Pacific Ocean Blue, which I love to death. But this is his first album, and again, it's just weird because of how much of a genius he was, and this is like way after the whole Beach Boys craze was going on. So yeah, Brian Wilson, self-titled album. Next, I have Classic Yes, which is a compilation of a bunch of Yes songs. I actually haven't listened to this all the way through, so I have to listen to it. I can't give a honest opinion on it yet, but yeah, just wanted to show it off. Classic Yes. Next, I have A Day at the Races by Queen. I have to tell you, it's actually really, really hard to find Queen studio albums around. I don't know about you guys, but it's really hard to find Queen studio albums where I live. So finding this was, really amazing. I knew I had to pick it up when I saw it because it's just really difficult around here for some reason. I don't know why. But some really big bands, as big as they are, it's really difficult to find their studio albums. Most of the time, it's only compilation albums, which are great for listening to the artists and getting into their music. But when it comes to studio albums, it's just impossible to find albums like this, especially. So yeah, this of course has Somebody to Love and Tie Your Mother Down, things like that. So I'll be looking for A Night at the Opera sometime soon. So yeah, A Day at the Races by Queen. The last album, and certainly not least, is Some Girls by the Rolling Stones. After I heard Beast of Burden in the 50 Shades of Grey soundtrack, I went and listened to this album, and it was a really, really great listen. Beast of Burden is probably one of my favorite Rolling Stones songs, and this is definitely one of my favorite Rolling Stones albums. Probably not as good as, say, So now some of the albums that I'll be looking to get really soon, aside from the ones that I've said in the last video that I haven't gotten yet, are America's Most Wanted and Death Certificate by Ice Cube, Straight Off the Streets of Compton by Eazy-E, The Chronic by Dr. Dre, A Night at the Opera by Queen, Illmatic by Nas, Summertime '06 by Vince Staples, The Magic Whip by Blur, and Beauty Behind the Madness by The Weeknd. Anyways, I thank you all for watching this video. I hope you all enjoyed, and if you did, please hit that like button as well as subscribe for more, and I will see you all in the next video. So long.